doesn't sound like they know what's going on, and Kucinich today wants to stop federal money from being used for the Libyan attacks. The price tag is expected to cost in the billions, that is, if everything goes well. Then what? Those missiles cost $500,000 bucks each, and that fighter jet that just crashed, $30 million bucks. Thank God the pilots were rescued, though. That's right, Mr. Obama, the pilots were rescued. When do your aides find out about that, Mr. President? Mr. Obama, where the hell are you? Joining me now is Liberal Radio host Leslie Marshall. Leslie, the man was elected to lead America, not fly around South America and make friends with Brazilians, Chileans, and El Salvadorans, and certainly not fight a war from a blue tent. What kind of leader is Obama turning out to be?
I guess he's turning out to be much like his predecessor, Eric, who fought much of the Iraq War and the Afghanistan War from his ranch in Crawford, a Camp David outside and separate from the White House. Come on, let's be fair. Not every president, left or right, is going to sit in the Oval Office for the entire duration of any war. Harry S. Truman did it. FDR did it.
How about being in Washington? I'm not saying he has to sit in his office with his feet up. He can even have that the Cuban cigar he likes so much. But how about being around some information? Did you see the picture of the blue tent with he and two people sitting around with one telephone and nobody? There it is. Take a look at that. That's what you want him making decisions. How about this? You have a kid, you have a son, you want to have him sent over to Libya based on information you're getting off one telephone. By the way, is that line control? Are you sure no one else is on the other side of that line listening in?
Eric, are you actually going to put our military, the greatest military in the world, down and think that everything hinges on just the President of the United States? What if the President were ill? We have a Pentagon. We have Joint Chiefs of Staff. We have a Defense Secretary. We have an incredible war machine, and we're not at war. We've imposed a no-fly zone and a ceasefire, and we're not going this alone, and we're not the leaders.
Hey, Leslie,
if the President's in the Oval Office or not, what happened today would have happened.
We sent our young men and women into battle yesterday. If you don't believe it, there's an F-15 that's crashed right now and smoldering somewhere in Libya right now. Thank God everyone was safe, but it didn't necessarily have to end that way. Hold on. Take a look at this picture. Here's what a war room should look like. Here's where the decisions should be made. Look at that. Joint Chiefs of Staff sitting there giving the President information. That's where he should have made the call to arms, not from some blue tent, after a state dinner serving Chilean sea bass.
He didn't make the call to arms. The resolution, 1973, you know, Eric, was passed before he got on the plane to Brazil, before Defense Secretary Secretary Gates got on a plane to Russia. The resolution was passed, and the mission was already enforced before he got on the plane. And
well,
went
the way
to South
I understood it, Leslie, the way I understood is Hillary Clinton made the phone call to Mr. Obama and said, we have to do this while he was there. He actually was in Rio, in Brazil, and she made the call. It doesn't sound like he made that call.
Well, you know, I don't agree, Eric, and I'll say, and I'm the first to say that I think that we are 2 weeks late on this. But I think perhaps whether it was Secretary Clinton or he just looking at history, looked at how we missed the mark with Darfur, we were late with Rwanda, and he didn't want to repeat history in that regard, and he needed to step up the plate in order for this resolution to pass and for the other allies like Lebanon to come on board.
So let me get this straight. 1973 was passed prior to him leaving for Brazil, but he got on the plane anyway?
Yes, he got on the plane, and we talked about that before. He got on the plane because there was, first of all, this was planned before. Second of all, this is taken care of. President Obama doesn't need to be the babysitter to the United States military.
We almost lost two pilots today.
The resolution was passed. Eric, any time we send our military anywhere, whether it is to protect a no-fly zone and a ceasefire and enforce that, whether it is a war on the ground, on air, or on the sea, and being the daughter of veterans in all forces of the service, that is a risk we take. It's a terrible risk, but that's what our people in the military are brave enough to do, to protect our nation and other people's lives, like in the case of Libya genocide.
Right. Leslie, we're going to have to leave it there. We're going to see you in a bit. All right, time to bring it out. Today's all-star panel. Leslie Marshall is back with us via The Bird and joining us here in the studio. On the left, Fox News contributor Tamara Holder. On the right, radio host Chris Plant and Guardian Angels founder Curtis Sliwa. Curtis, Hopi changey thing. How's that working out for you, my friend?
Well, Hopi changey. The dinosaurs in the Senate, they're the ones who are pounding for war. McCain, Lieberman, Kerry. I mean, they were putting on their uniforms again. It's like, Chuck, they don't want to deal with the debt and deficit. This is a great distraction. And then the one with the onions was Hillary. Oh, I need my own freaking war. Let's get Qaddafi. I'll do what Reagan did. And you go, here's Barack Obama going, hey, Ipanema, looking good here in Brazil. Party hardy carnival. He wanted no part of this war. This is Hillary's war.
What about your commander-in-chief, our commander-in-chief over there spending some time, some quality time with the Brazilians and Chileans when you know, all hell's breaking loose?
I don't think where he is the issue.
Why not?
Because like Leslie said, it doesn't really matter where the president is. He has an entire staff. He has people who are helping him.
Did you see the picture?
He is not
Let's
alone.
do it one more time, guys. I hate to do this to you, but where's that picture of the blue tent?
Okay, but this is an exaggeration. One picture of him does not mean that he's on like some rotary telephone.
What is that? Oh, it is
there
that.
Are computers
he's running the war from that. Look at the one guy's got. What does he have?
Eric, come on.
A banana over there in the corner. This guy over here is. Who are these? Come on.
We can laugh at a picture all day long.
Funny, Tamara.
It's not
that's
funny.
That's not funny at all.
It is not funny. But let's be serious here. You don't think that he has intelligence. You don't think that he has a whole communications team. You don't think that he travels with that at all times with intelligence
Chris
people.
Plant, we elected him to lead America, not to go spend time with the Brazilians and Chileans and El Salvador.
This is a complete and total and catastrophic failure of leadership from start to finish. Everyone knows it. You've got Dennis Kucinich, a liberal Democrat from Ohio, talking about his impeachment. He's spending his time down there with the new president of Brazil, who is a former Marxist guerrilla, quite literally.
He doesn't agree with it without congressional approval.
Listen,
it's not that he's saying that it's a failed mission.
They have well, not yet, but the president's job is to be commander-in-chief, and when he dedicates our troops to combat, he's supposed to be in funny places like the Situation Room, the Oval Office. He's supposed to be meeting with the Joint Chiefs of Staff. He's not supposed to be literally phoning it in. And this is a future campaign ad, this photograph. And I mean, it's quite literally phoning it. And I remember when George Bush was president, it was all about optics and appearance. And Leslie's still talking about George Bush being at the ranch in Texas. That was at least in Texas.
Awing there, Leslie. Go ahead. What do you disagree with?
My blood pressure. You know, nobody wanted to impeach Bush daddy for Somalia in '92 or Clinton for Kosovo, so can we please stop it? I'm not even pushing forth for Bush and Cheney to be impeached, and I'm a liberal Democrat and not their biggest fans.
Well, they're not
the bottom line is this: how can you say this is a fail? Neither is Clinton, and we talk about him every day and blame him every day.
Not impeaching.
Nobody can say this is a failed mission when it started on Saturday. Please, can we put the politics aside when we're talking about human rights?
Regardless, making the call, picking up the phone, saying, "Yeah, go ahead, Hillary, go ahead, unleash hell." For me, it was a bad place to do it. He should have been back home. He could have. By the way, he could have put that aside. Curtis, he did put away another. He delayed another trip last year when he was very insistent on getting Obamacare passed. He put away the trip to, I can't remember where he was going, but he said Australia.
Australia, right.
He delayed that trip.
And Indonesia.
Oh, there's no doubt. But you see, with Qaddafi, right, mad bad Qaddafi when Reagan was there. Mad good Qaddafi when George W. Bush did. Now he's mad bad again. In 10 years, he'll be mad good for somebody else. This guy's a crackpot and a screwball, and he's always been that way. And we just play Ace like a Duncan yo-yo. So we just keep pimp slapping him from time to time.
Camera, here it is from the Reagan Foundation. I pulled it up there. You know, there's notes every single day. This man took notes, and he says, here's his line: "I can't go to a barbecue at a time like this. It wouldn't be seemly for me to be out socializing. Sometime later, I'm going to go on TV and tell the people the details of what's going on." Boy, that is volumes away from where Obama is.
But you're talking about PR here. You're saying that you don't appreciate or you don't like a certain picture of President Obama in South America. That doesn't necessarily mean that what he's doing is wrong. Now, I don't. Wait,
Leslie, no, she's freaking out. Leslie, what, you don't like that Reagan comment? Yeah. I pulled it right from the Reagan Foundation.
Okay, two things. One, Reagan didn't like Gaddafi either, so that's one way that he and Obama agree. Secondly, he is not going to Brazil just for R&R. Come on, Eric, you know the reality. This could lead to future jobs through consumerism.
Leslie,
when the people in Brazil, in manufacturing,
you know what? Don't give me the jobs garbage. I would have probably bet. I would have probably bet on
consumerism.
I would have probably, Leslie, Oil. That's where I might have bitten. I might have bitten on he may go over to Brazil to find out how to drill. And we can only hope that he's asking the Brazilians, how in the world do you drill? Because we can't figure it out here for ourselves. Meanwhile, here's $2 billion. Don't go there, jobs. What kind of jobs is he creating in Chile right now or to El Salvador? What kind of jobs are you talking about?
Well, when I'm talking about Brazil, I'm talking about the fact that the Brazilian manufacturers are frustrated with the cheap quality of Chinese goods. All of South America, Latin America, the world is concerned about, and you know this better than I, Eric, you're an expert on money and I'm not, about the Chinese currency. And I think it's good for America to be the backball and say, look,
now,
we
Leslie,
are basically able to bring you these goods,
we're sending
and
our
that
young
would
men
increase
and
our
women
exports,
into harm's
and
way.
that would create jobs.
Now you have to do that. That couldn't have waited until next week. Curtis, last word.
Wait a minute, Eric. Do we or do we not send men and women to harm's way every single day and have for the past years in Iraq and Afghanistan?
Wow. Yeah,
and it was okay for our current and former presidents to leave the White House?
Hey, homeboy, Nobel Peace Prize winner, throw it back in. Drones over Northwest Pakistan. You wrapped it up in Afghanistan and you're partying hardy in Brazil while we're going to war in Libya.
Coming up, guys, coming up, the president sidestepped Congress, but gets UN, NATO, and Arab League approval to bomb Libya. Are we looking at a one world government? The judge, Napolitano, is here to rule. All right, part of the action against Qaddafi includes freezing his assets, but do we even know how much he's worth and where he keeps all his money? Take a look at this report from the Financial Times. The Libyan central bank, which is under Colonel Qaddafi's control, holds 143.8 tons of gold, according to the latest data from the International Monetary Fund, although some suspect the true amount could be several tons higher than that. How about this? It gets better. Those reserves among the top 25 in the world are worth more than $6.5 billion at current prices, enough to pay a small army of mercenaries for months or even years. Did the tourist-in-chief know about this? Let's go to Leslie Marshall. We're going to bring the panel back in. But Leslie, here it is, $6.5 billion worth of gold. Could be more. Also, earlier today on the Fox News channel, Shepard Smith reports that there could be tens of billions of dollars in cash that this guy can tap. He can pay mercenaries a long time if he wanted to.
That's no question, Eric, and I have to tell you that's one of the reasons I think that it was wise for us to have this resolution passed, because economic sanctions don't matter to this guy. This is going to hurt the economic sanctions alone, the people, quite frankly, more than him, because he does have this stash, and he obviously isn't going to share the wealth with his people or take care of them using those funds.
Go ahead, Chris. You're shaking your head.
Share the wealth with his people. I love it. Immediately to the distributionist thing. Barack Obama's big plan here, as I understand it, the bombing part is the humanitarian part. Is this right? Bombing Libya is the humanitarian leg of this stool, and it is the sanctions that are supposed to drive Muammar Qaddafi from power. I listened to him very carefully yesterday. That's what he said. The bombing is the humanitarian part. It's the words that are supposed to make him go. Sanctions are not going to make this go. Leslie just said it. Sanctions are not going to make this guy go anywhere. This is a ruthless dictator who took power in a military coup in 1969. He kills all his enemies. That's what he does. That's his MO. He's got plenty of cash. Strangling, freezing his assets in Switzerland is not going to change the course of events in Libya by one day. Nothing is good. These people are living in fantasy land, all right? This is a bad guy. You either take him out or you don't. Right now, choose A or B. We're choosing A.
But remember, his best friend was Berlusconi. He had his 48 concubines, with the Kalashnikovs. He would sleep with them while having the Kalashnikovs, share them with Berlusconi. He knows the Swiss. He's got 6 degenerate sons who are paying off Beyonce, Mariah Carey, 50 Cent, $1 million for 5 sons. These guys have money coming out of their belly button. Yeah. That's their belly button lending his money.
His son got a PhD from the London School of Economics. Surely he squirreled away some cash for a rainy day.
Why not take Qaddafi out? Why doesn't Obama come out here and say, look, we're done with this. Enough. Finito. You're out of here. We're taking you out. Why doesn't he do that? Why beat around the bush?
Quite frankly, I don't know. And that's why, as a Democrat, I'm very confused about this, like the American people. We don't know what President Obama wants. He said that he was going to march with the unions, and then Wisconsin happened. He was silent. He said that he wasn't going to do something like this without congressional approval, and he did. So the question is, why is he doing this? The American people do not understand,
Leslie,
and we don't understand what the purpose is.
What's the big? Why do we have to beat around the bush? Get rid of Qaddafi. I remember Bush said, look, Saddam Hussein, he's got to go. He's on his way out. We're going to get him, and he's a bad guy. He's going to go. What's the difference here?
Okay, Eric, I'm going to call Osama bin Laden and tell him exactly when my troops are going to strike and where. You don't show the enemy your plans, your hand at the poker table, your blueprint. Transparency is one thing.
Let me get this straight.
Being an idiot's another.
Let me get this straight. You think we're going to trick Qaddafi into coming out in the open going, okay, you're not going to shoot me, and then we're going to blow him away?
It's a very small country, and if we have airstrikes, Eric, and you hit a building that he's in, ba-boom, he's gone.
It's bigger than Alaska.
Why not, if that is the case, we've had representatives on from both sides. Kucinich last night, Chaffetz tonight, and they tell us they have no idea what the plan is. Why don't you think Congress, they should at least know a plan, right?
Well, first of all, and I wish the judge were, back here. He did admit that the War Powers Act specifies that he does not, any president, need to have congressional approval in case of an emergency. I consider genocide an emergency, guys. Sorry,
so you were cool with
Libya
Iraq.
Or otherwise.
You were cool with Iraq. Is that what you're saying?
We did not go to Iraq based on genocide. I was told by our president that we went to Iraq because there were weapons of mass destruction. If it had been about genocide, it would have been different. And we didn't. It wasn't an airstrike. We invaded the nation on foot.
It's a very large country. First of all, it's larger than Alaska, more than 500,000 square miles. It's not a small country. The president can phone in maybe to the American people what we're doing here and explain to us what it is that he's doing with our military. But all of the excuses for this guy wouldn't have been forthcoming during the Bush administration. That's for darn sure.
Gotta leave it, guys. Gotta leave it right there.